Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Malveaux Talks show. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the famous TV dad, Michael Landon. And for those of us, especially in my generation, we only knew Michael Landon from the Highway to Heaven series, because I grew up in the 80s. But Little House on the Prairie, which really put him at the center of the pop culture. And before that, Bonanza. But Little House on the Prairie, that was what made him a celebrity of influence. I couldn't stand that show as a child. I thought it was corny. I really didn't like that show. But that's because as a child, I really didn't understand what that show did for the country, and more importantly, why it was necessary to have a show like that. Now, let me just say, because many of you who did not grow up with Michael Landon, I cannot stress enough the heartbreak when this white man died, this actor. When he had pancreatic cancer, announced to the world that he had pancreatic cancer, the letters that poured in, the standing ovations that this man got from people, it was amazing. And it was more than Patrick Swayze and all these others ever could have gotten or did get when they had a health crisis. And all Michael Landon said was, look, I know I'm in your prayers. Put his imprint, really, on the shifting of various emphasis in terms of television and everything else like that. But let me give briefly background before I get into the meat of the subject. Eugene Orowitz, which is Michael Landon's birth name, was the product of a mixed marriage. His father was a Jew, his mother was a Catholic. He got a scholarship, athletic scholarship, to go out to USC. And while he was out there, he did auditions. This is in the 50s. He did auditions. He got B-picture roles. But it wasn't until he landed the role of Little Joe on Bonanza that he really came into the national consciousness in terms of television. Then, after doing that for 14 seasons, Ed Friendly of NBC went to him and said, look, I want you to help me develop a show based on the Laura Ingalls Wilder book series of Little House books. He said, fine, this is Michael Landon. He said, fine, I will help you develop a show based on this, but I want to play the lead, namely Charles Ingalls, and I will also craft the show very different from what is actually in the books. See, in preparation for this talk, I read through the necessary books that the TV series was based on. Now, together with William Claxton and Blanche Hannels, he developed this show. And this show was supposed to help the American people get ready for the bicentennial. Now, you must understand the context. The country was scandal-ridden. We were still in the aftermath of Watergate when the show premiered, Little House on the Prairie. You had the Nixon resignation, you had urban decay, racial disintegration, just, a whole lot of economic uncertainty. There were a lot of reasons why the American people were not proud of this country, Vietnam, and all of the fallout from that. So you wanted a show that would make the American people feel proud of the country again, what we had achieved. And you see, there were certain things that Charles Ingalls was never going to be. He was never going to be a racist. See, the Charles Ingalls of the books saw no problem with minstrel shows, had nothing like the kind of racial benevolence that the Charles Ingalls of that TV series had. And one of the things, this is one of the key things that Michael Landon stressed, was that the TV character that Michael Landon would play was not going to be a fool or a foil or disrespected by his wife or his children. You see, before this kind of character, the children ran roughshod over their father. The other TV character that was a contemporary, namely Archie Bunker, you see, he was uneducated, a racist, simple-minded. Karen Grassley, who played his wife, really did a superb job at simultaneously being independent on the one hand and being respectful of her husband. You see, Claire Huxtable, who would come later, periodically had to put her husband in a headlock or got up into her husband's face about something. Al Bundy was a fool, and Peggy Bundy had no respect for him. Dan Connor was pussy whipped, but Charles Ingalls was never any of those things. And Karen Grassley, I had to look at one of the interviews that she gave talking about this specific role. She said, in the beginning, I wanted it to be a very grittier performance, but it was explained to me by the production team, but that was not the show that Michael Landon was producing. That he wanted a show that would be, as she said, these are her words, let's pretend on the prairie. Now, that's not liberal snarkiness. What that was a very good classification of what she had to do as an actress. Because, and this is just to show you how intuitive I can be, she said, these are her direct words, that the show was supposed to impart certain values. The value of family, the value of hard work, the value of community, honesty, etc., etc. And so that she made sure that the American people would see a woman who was both independent but respectful of her husband. Now, what does that have to do with you? Well, let me tell you. When you understand that this TV dad that Michael Landon portrayed is supposed to be what the father figure should be in our society. Self-sufficient. See, some of you people, you think that just because every other weekend you may take your son to get a haircut, and every couple of months you give your baby's mama or even your wife or whoever a couple of dollars to go and buy diapers, that you're taking care of your kids. You're not taking care of your kids. See, what Michael Landon did in terms of that character is what you are being judged against. When that parade of black bucks, shiftless spics, and methadone addict honkies come parading through Judge Judy's court, for instance, you could see the contempt on her face for this. And she's not getting any kind of ideal out of a law book. This is what she is referencing in her head. This father took care of his family. This is what it means. See, before any of you fathers go to your next court hearing on your child support payments or wherever it is, arraignments or anything else, you need to watch this show. Because many of the times, what the judge is referencing is what Michael Landon did on that television series. And you've got to understand what that character was about in order to possibly get out of the various penalizations that you get when you go to court and you have to defend your own methods of quote unquote taking care of your family. This is the model that Michael Landon left to us. And this is why he is an American influence.